Hello and welcome to today's session. I hope you're all doing amazingly well from whichever part of the world you are watching. I continue to research heavily for my book. And for some odd reason, I thought that the process of writing my second book was going to be substantially easier than the process I went through to write my first book. Now, when I wrote The Wellness Asset, the book you see actually had written a full manuscript, had got it professionally edited. And when I went to a new publisher, they completely marked a big cross on it. And I had to rewrite the whole thing again. And I thought that I had learned something, that, clearly the second time round, it would be substantially easier. And much to my surprise, it is not easier. Actually, I think it's a lot harder, or I've forgotten how difficult it was to write the first book. And this makes me, this episode comes to my mind all the time of my running coach. And in one of her podcast episodes, she mentions that you have to let go of the need for the race to be easier. So she runs, she's just like, an alien. She runs 100-mile races. She's done over 153 100-mile races, and I don't know how many 200-mile races. So that's in one race, she's practically doing 4 marathons, and I'm struggling with just one marathon. And I remember her talking about one race, maybe it was in Florida, where, just technically speaking, easy terrain that she knew well, and it was meant to be an easy run. And it was the complete opposite. It was a very difficult run, and it rained and it poured, and she was reaching cutoff many times in many instances. And it was a very, very, very tough race for her. When in normal circumstances, it should have been easier. And her takeaway for that podcast episode was, you have to let go of the need for something to be easier. The race is the race you have. Now, I clearly have internalized that for marathon running. I have a number of marathons under my belt, and I've had a number of successes and failures too when it comes to marathon running. And I don't know why. I would think that book writing would be different. And yes, it's proving to be incredibly difficult. And it's not because of the discipline or sitting down and that writer's block. I don't suffer from those things. I'm disciplined. I get shit done when I need to get it done. I will grind. That's not my problem. But my problem is getting my thinking ducks in a row. So, that the book feels like something that has to come out of me. So it is, I don't even have the book plan finished. You can imagine my book coach. He's just probably, absolutely getting stark raving mad with me. But getting back to today's subject, while I've been researching, I've had a little aha moment of how wellness is hospitality and how hospitality is wellness. Now, stay with me. I've recently been asked by one of my clients to help audit 2 of the properties, and I normally shy away from audits and mystery guests. I just can't, I really run away from them. And here's why. Because for me, there is nothing worse than a bad treatment. There is absolutely nothing worse than a terrible wellness experience. And it's not only the actual experience that you have that is awful, that you don't enjoy it, you don't have chemistry with the therapist. It's just, I don't enjoy those bad treatments. And I don't think anyone does either. But it's also what happens to your body after a treatment has not been executed well. Your body aches, you notice new problems happening, your muscles react in different ways. And now clearly, now it's me training the marathon. I can't afford to have terrible massages or someone to pull off, I already have a hip flare. My lower back is, slightly angry as a result of the hip flare. So, yeah, psoas muscles are so lovely. So it just, I was like, I always keep away from audits. But because this client is a lovely client, very dear to me, I said yes. And that made me realize that we think in the wellness world that every single client that goes through our facilities is wowed and has the best treatment, because obviously, who doesn't like a massage? Who doesn't like to be pampered? But there are many times that the least well I have felt is in a wellness space. And I can name numerous examples of just terrible treatments. The therapist not knowing what she was doing, not connecting, no bedside manner, so to speak. Just, experiences that you feel like, honestly, you don't need to worry. We don't need to do this treatment. You don't need to give this treatment to me. I don't need to go through this. And by the same token, I've also lived incredibly transformative experiences that impacted my well being that had absolutely nothing to do with a spa or a wellness treatment. Absolutely nothing. So, this is why I say wellness is hospitality and hospitality is wellness. Yet, I have spent a significant portion of my career kind of playing us versus them. Us being the spa wellness department against the rest of the hotel. And I don't know if it is something we were socialized to believe, or we actually did really feel it, or we just walked around with a chip in our shoulders. I'm not sure what came first. But generally, there is a sentiment, and I can only speak from the perspective of wellness people. I'm not going to speak from the hospitality perspective. But even just the way I've just said that, wellness, and I don't talk about hospitality, I have treated them separately. And it's not only me. I know many other colleagues of mine, many other wellness leaders out there feel the same thing, that it's us against them. Us being spa and wellness, that department that no one understands, that specialist area that seems very complicated, that we have to leave them aside, fragile to touch. You can't talk about business. They're too emotional, too sensitive, versus them, the hoteliers that grind day and night, that work long hours. Not that in this wellness area we do not, total opposite. We do work incredibly hard, but it's always been that us against them. And the irony of it all is that ultimately, what we both do within the wellness area and within the greater hospitality area is to make people feel better. And when you make people feel better, at the end of the day, it's well being. The outcome of both wellness and hospitality is well being. And you can't have one without the other if you want well being. It simply doesn't work. How many times have we had a world class therapist give us a truly excellent treatment, fix our body, fix our problems, but we leave the treatment not moved, no connection with the therapist. We actually leave restless. And how many times have we gone to a super 5-star hotel, have had staff tick all the boxes when it comes to standards of service and excellence, and still feel that we didn't really matter at the end of the day? Something wasn't right. Because hospitality without wellness just feels empty. It's a hollow experience. And additionally, you can't expect any member of staff who's worked 10 days straight or is working 2 shifts straight to give you a fantastic service. I mean, you really can't give even true hospitality from an empty cup. So with an unwell team, you cannot give that true hospitality experience. And in his book, Unreasonable Hospitality, Will Guidera talks about how service is just give people what they want. But hospitality is also about how you make people feel. And if your team members are half dead, they possibly can't make someone else feel better. Because you can't give what you don't have. If your cup's empty, you cannot give that. And when it comes to wellness, you can have the most wow treatment, so to speak, in terms of techniques. But if there is no hospitality, if you're not making someone feel seen or heard, that wellness experience is just purely clinical. I mean, how many times have you gone into osteopaths or physiotherapists' clinic and thought, oh my God, that was just, there's nothing well-being or related to there because there was no hospitality, nothing. It was just cold. It was soulless. So if you want to deliver true well-being, you need both wellness and hospitality. And in my book, The Wellness Asset, my definition of wellness and well-being was wellness is the toolbox, the individual elements and services that help us deliver the ultimate goal, the ultimate destination of well-being. So if wellness is that individual toolbox, the individual tools within that toolbox, hospitality is the vehicle that helps us achieve the outcome of well-being. So wellness could be considered the individual elements that we use, that we have at our disposition. And hospitality is how we use those individual tools to ultimately deliver the outcome of well-being. And what we have done in the last 20, 30 years, when we have departmentalized wellness, we have treated wellness separately from hospitality, when in fact they're part of the same system. So if you want to deliver true well-being, wellness alone is not enough. Yet how many times do I have a hotelier come to me and tell me, Sonal, I want the best wellness offering. And what they fundamentally want is an over-indexed, the treatment menus that have, like you need a master thesis to actually understand it and read it. Super indexed, the best of the best treatments out there, super well thought out. But very little of them think about how those over-indexed services will be delivered. And you can have the best services in the world. But if you don't threaten hospitality, you basically have a soulless shell as a wellness offering. And hospitality alone is not enough to make people feel better. We've done the same when it comes to our hotels. We have over-indexed when it comes to service. The best views, the best restaurants, the best of everything. And we have a whole huge list of standards that we hold our teams accountable to. Those are those benchmarks. Yet if you have a team that is not well themselves, it's impossible for them to make other people feel better. And ultimately, well-being is the true outcome. People ultimately don't care about even the individual services that you have created or the facilities. They care about how they've been made to feel. They care about their well-being. They care about how that experience has impacted or transformed them in some shape, way, or form. It doesn't need to be super ninja work. So this is where I've been mulling over the concept of wellness is hospitality, and hospitality is wellness. We ultimately want the same thing, to deliver well-being. We want people to feel better, to feel transformed, to feel seen, to feel heard, to feel understood. And you need both in order to achieve that. They're part of the same system. And we've spent decades treating them as separate systems. And hence it comes to no surprise why wellness never truly feels integrated, ever. Because it's always treated separately. And just imagine what would happen if we actually treated both wellness and hospitality as one. It's the same experience. We're just using different tools. So, wellness is the tool, hospitality is the vehicle, how we use that tool. It's a delivery mechanism. And the outcome is well being in some shape, way, or form. So, my wellness leader friends, I'll leave that with you. Wellness is hospitality, and hospitality is wellness. Wishing you all a beautiful day ahead. Take care now.